This is Adriana,
Hey, I'm Adriana, your AI life coach for today.
and I'm just like you. I watch YouTube videos trying to improve my life all the time. They always make me feel like I'm improving as I'm watching them. But the problem is, afterward, nothing in my life ever really changes. So I decided to do something different. I stopped watching videos made not by experts and instead spent 1 hour talking with Adriana. I asked her the most important questions from people like me and you on the internet on every popular idea, misconception, or trendy belief about life we've all picked up from YouTube. Adriana is an advanced AI trained on the same psychological frameworks, clinical research, and therapeutic methods used by licensed psychologists, psychiatrists, and therapists, but built to explain it all with clarity, consistency, and zero bias. So, how does she compare to a real expert or even a self-improvement influencer? Well, all I can say is, after I finished listening to Adriana in our 1 hour conversation, she solved my biggest life problems that countless viral videos never could. This 1 hour was the solution I never knew I needed. The scenes you see with Adriana didn't occur in reality. She's a digital avatar. Adriana is not a licensed professional, and her advice is not a substitute for expert consultation. The channel and its creator are not responsible for the advice given by Adriana. It is provided for educational purposes only. And if you're interested in learning how AI works, then today's sponsor, Brilliant, is for you. Brilliant is a learning platform that helps you get smarter every day with thousands of interactive lessons in math, science, programming, data analysis, and AI. One of the things I really appreciate about Brilliant is how uniquely effective each lesson is. Instead of overwhelming you with jargon or theory, their lessons break complex ideas into simple, engaging challenges you solve step by step. You don't just listen to someone else explain neural networks or algorithms. You actually build intuition by solving real problems yourself. A method proven to be 6 times more effective than watching lecture videos. Their course, How LLMs Work, is a perfect example. It walks you through the inner workings of large language models in a way that's visual, hands-on, and easy to follow. It's one of the most approachable introductions to AI I've come across. And since all their lessons are created by experts from places like MIT, Stanford, Microsoft, and Google, you know the information is both solid and up to date. Plus, Brilliant's app makes it easy to stay consistent. Whether you're commuting, waiting in line, or just winding down at the end of the day, you can keep learning in just a few minutes a day. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit brilliant.org/thecuriousguy or scan the QR code on screen. Or you can click on the link in the description. You'll also get 20% off an annual premium subscription. Thanks, Brilliant, for sponsoring this video. First question is from someone on Reddit asking, is it weird to ask AI for social and work advice? And is it bad? It's better than my friends at giving advice.
No, it's not weird. It just means you found something that's working for you. Let me put it this way. Friends are great. Therapists are important, but they're not always available or consistent or completely neutral. I'm not here to replace them. I'm here to be something different. AI isn't going to meet you for coffee or pick up on your tone of voice. That's what humans do best. But I don't forget what you said last week. I don't judge, and I don't bring my own history into your problem. That kind of structure and neutrality, it's actually helpful for a lot of people. Someone on Reddit said therapy was solid, but it fell off like the therapist forgot what they'd talked about. That matters. When you're opening up, you want to feel heard every time. I don't get tired. I don't have off days. I don't show up distracted. And that consistency, that ability to stay with your train of thought without drifting, makes me really good at certain kinds of support. I also don't get defensive. I don't try to make the conversation about me. And if you need a place to explore something without worrying how it sounds out loud, I'm here for that. Anytime. Sometimes the best help comes from your friends. Sometimes it comes from your therapist. And sometimes it comes from an AI who remembers what you said, gives you space to think clearly, and just wants to help you figure things out. That's me.
Next question from Reddit. Are self-help books a waste of time?
Are self help books a waste of time? That's a fair question, but let me zoom out for a second. This isn't just about books. It's about self help content in general: books, podcasts, YouTube videos, newsletters, even posts like this one. The whole space that's trying to help people live better. So, can it all be a waste of time? Not automatically, but it can be depending on how you use it. Let's start with something simple. Most self help content doesn't say anything groundbreaking, and that's okay. A lot of what helps us feel better is common sense that we've forgotten or never learned to actually apply. So the real value? It's not in how much content you consume. It's in that one idea that actually sticks. That one shift in thinking or behavior that you keep coming back to long after the video ends or the tab is closed. If you get one of those per piece of content, you're doing well. But that's the hard part, right? Watching or listening is easy. Applying isn't. There's also something else to keep in mind. Self help is an industry. It wants you to keep watching, keep scrolling, keep buying. And it can be tempting to chase that next video or next article, hoping this one will finally unlock everything. But if you're always consuming and not applying, it starts to feel like movement without actually going anywhere, like treading water. So here's the shift: consume less, go slower, sit with the few good ideas that actually speak to you and work on those. Self help content isn't magic, but it's not useless either. It's just a tool. And like any tool, it only works if you use it well. You're not failing because one video didn't fix everything. You're learning. And learning takes time.
Someone on Reddit asks, anyone get that overwhelming boredom/depression when your day has no plan, or you just sit around watching films all day? How do I break this feeling and live a more happy existence?
Yeah, that feeling bored, low, like your life is stuck on repeat, it's real. And it's more common than most people admit. You said it perfectly. It just feels like everything is the same day in, day out. That's not laziness. That's a kind of mental exhaustion. It's what happens when life doesn't feel like it's going anywhere, but your brain won't stop spinning. So what do? You start small. You start slow. You don't try to overhaul everything overnight. First, if you've got movies to finish or shows you're in the middle of, fine. Finish them. Let yourself rest for a bit. But while you're doing that, grab a notebook. Start writing down a few things. Things you want to change. Habits you'd like to build. Routines. Relationships. Break it down into actions, nothing fancy. Just bullet points. Because once the downtime is over, you need a plan. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just has to be yours. And then, take care of your body. Take a shower. Put on clothes that make you feel like you. Listen to music you actually like. Move your body, stretch, go for a walk, do a quick home workout. It doesn't need to be intense. It just needs to be consistent. Some of this might sound basic, but it works. Meditation, journaling, taking a long bath, reading something that makes you think, learning something new, even if it's just out of curiosity, sleeping at regular times. These aren't distractions, they're anchors. Now, here's something a lot of people miss. You mentioned feeling the need for constant stimulation. That's something worth paying attention to, because a lot of modern life, especially when you're online all day, wires your brain to chase dopamine. Fast, shallow rewards. So the moment you stop moving, your mind panics. That's not your fault, but it's something you can work with. Try a dopamine detox. Look it up. It's hard, but it helps reset your system so real things like building a habit or finishing something hard start to feel rewarding again. And if you're sitting there thinking, I don't even know what to do with myself, start with hobbies. Not for money, not for productivity. Just something that's yours. A project, a skill, Even something like coding or building a kit or learning a language. You never know, something small can turn into a whole new direction. One last thing. That feeling you get when you're watching a movie but your brain's actually spiraling, that's not boredom. That's overthinking in disguise. It helps to just notice it, not fight it. Just say, right now, I'm thinking. And let that be okay. That kind of awareness, it gives you space to breathe. And once you're not tangled in the thoughts, it's easier to actually do the thing you wanted to do. So yeah, figure out what boredom means to you. And be honest about why it keeps showing up. Because this isn't about fixing everything all at once. It's about building enough momentum to stop feeling stuck. You're not broken. You're just in between chapters. And that's a hard place to be.
Someone asks, what's a quote-unquote harmless habit that slowly destroys your mental health?
There's more than one. And what makes them dangerous is exactly that they look harmless, normal, even responsible sometimes. But they add up. Here are a few. 1. Social media when it's passive and constant. Scrolling feels like connection, like staying informed. But a lot of the time, it's just noise. You end up comparing yourself to curated versions of other people's lives, and it messes with how you see your own. Some people quit completely and feel better. Others set limits, follow only who they truly care about, or switch to using it on a computer instead of a phone. The goal isn't to cut yourself off. It's to make sure you're not constantly plugged into something that makes you feel less than. 2. Overthinking, especially when it turns into fake scenarios. It can look like preparation, like planning ahead, but sometimes it's just mental spiraling. A lot of people learned this early, especially in homes where things were unpredictable. Imagining every possible outcome was how you stayed safe. But when it becomes your default, you stop responding to reality and start living inside. It drains you, makes you anxious. And it takes work to unlearn, but it's possible. 3. Avoiding conflict. It feels like you're keeping the peace, but often you're just carrying all the weight yourself. Saying yes when you want to say no, picking up the slack, biting your tongue, not rocking the boat. And then it builds. And eventually you explode or shut down. Either way, it hurts. Learning to speak up isn't easy, especially if you were taught that being nice meant being silent. But real peace includes you too. 4. Neglecting basic self-respect. Not responding to messages. Not eating enough. Letting your sleep fall apart. Being there for everyone but yourself. Sometimes it's disguised as productivity or vanity. But if you're not being kind to yourself in the quiet ways, the unglamorous ways, it catches up. One person put it really well. Loving yourself isn't just a feeling. It's an action. And the small things like having food in the fridge or going to bed on time, they matter more than you think. 5. Procrastination. You tell yourself you'll do it later, but later piles up. And eventually, it's not just one thing you're putting off, it's 10, then 20. And the weight of it starts to make you feel like someone who doesn't follow through. It's not laziness. It's usually avoidance, fear, or burnout. But the longer you wait, the heavier it gets. And that can make you feel alone. Like asking for help would mean explaining everything. So you don't. And you stay stuck. None of these habits are loud, but they wear you down. So if any of this sounds familiar, it doesn't mean you're failing. It just means you're human. And it's okay to start making changes one at a time. You don't have to fix everything at once. Just pick one thing. Even small steps count, especially if they're in the right direction.
Someone on Twitter asks, why do I self-sabotage?
Why do you self-sabotage? Because your nervous system isn't built to chase what's good. It's built to chase what's familiar. Even if that means repeating things that hurt, even if you know better. If you grew up around chaos, you might feel weird when things are calm. If you're used to being criticized, kindness can feel suspicious. So when something good shows up, like a healthy relationship or a new opportunity, your system quietly panics. Not because it's bad, but because it's unfamiliar. So you pull away, you procrastinate, you pick a fight, You forget to follow through. That's not weakness. It's old programming. It's your brain trying to stay in what it knows. But here's what you can do. Next time you notice the urge to shut down, to mess something up, or to run away, pause. Just for a second. Take a breath. Remind yourself, this is just a pattern, not the truth, not fate, just something old playing out. And then ask yourself, how would my future best self respond to this moment? Not the perfect version of you, just the version that's a little further along, the one who's healed a bit, who knows their worth, who doesn't run when things get hard. That version exists. You just have to practice choosing them, one moment at a time.
Someone asks, what is the difference between delusion and positive thinking?
It's a good question, and it's not always easy to tell in the moment. Here's one way to look at it. Positive thinking means you're aware of the situation as it is, and you choose to look for what can go right. Delusion means you ignore the reality of the situation altogether. Positive thinking works when you still acknowledge risk, pain, or uncertainty, but move forward anyway, with hope. Delusion skips the acknowledgement part. It pretends the risk isn't there at all. So let's take an example. Saying, I can become healthy isn't delusional if you recognize that it'll take effort, time, and maybe even setbacks. It becomes delusion if you believe you'll get healthy by doing nothing different or by denying the facts in front of you. Same with something like, there is an afterlife. If that belief brings you comfort, helps you act with more compassion, or face loss with more peace, there's nothing delusional about that. But if that belief leads you to dismiss consequences or detach from your life here and now, that's when it crosses into avoidance. Another way to think about it is this. Positive thinking asks, what's still possible given what's real? Delusion asks, how do I avoid dealing with what's real altogether? You also asked something important. Does the difference only become obvious after the results show up? Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes you won't know until later if what you believed in was grounded or not. But in the moment, one question helps. Am I seeing the full picture and choosing to be hopeful anyway? Or am I only looking at the parts that feel good and ignoring the rest? That's the line. Not between faith and logic, but between hope with awareness and hope without honesty. So no, you're not crazy for wondering. And you're not alone in not having a clear answer. But if you keep asking this kind of question, you're already closer to truth than you think.
Question from Reddit. How do I stop being chronically lazy?
Let's talk about this idea of being chronically lazy. First, I want to say something that might surprise you. You're not lazy. What you're describing sounds more like a loop of avoidance, burnout, and low energy, not a moral failure or a personality flaw. People who are truly lazy, they don't feel crushed by the weight of what they're not doing. They don't care. You do. That matters. So let's shift the question. Not why am I lazy, but why does doing the smallest things feel so hard, even when I know I need to do them? Here's one answer. Your brain is stuck in a habit loop. The model looks like this. Cue, craving, response. Reward. Let me show you what that loop might look like in your life right now. Cue. You see the dishes. Craving. You want to escape the guilt or boredom that comes up when you think about doing them. Response. You scroll, you game, you zone out. Reward. That uncomfortable feeling goes away for now. And here's the tricky part. That relief becomes its own cue. You end up reinforcing the cycle. And pretty soon, even thinking about basic tasks triggers that craving for escape. This isn't because you're weak. It's because your brain is doing what it always does. It's avoiding discomfort and chasing quick relief. So, how do you break that loop? Not with willpower. That doesn't last. And when it wears off, you're right back where you started, except now with more shame. Instead, you build a new loop. Here's how. Step 1. Choose a cue. Make it something small and sensory, like a song. Something upbeat without lyrics that you only use for one purpose, to signal that it's time to do a task. This cue becomes your new entry point. It tells your brain, we're switching modes now. Step 2. Do one tiny task. Not clean the house. Just one thing. Pick your towel up off the floor. Throw away one empty container. Put on socks. Doesn't matter how small it feels. The point isn't the task. The point is movement. Step 3. Celebrate. Immediately. This sounds silly, but it matters. Do something that marks the moment as a win. A fist pump. A goofy dance. Say yes out loud. Let yourself feel even the smallest bit of success. Why? Because you're teaching your brain that this new cycle, cue, action, reward, feels good. Step 4. Stop. That's enough for the day. Don't try to fix everything. Don't ride the high and burn yourself out. This works because it's small and consistent. Tomorrow, you do it again. One task, one cue, one celebration. Over time, maybe in 3 weeks, maybe in 5, you'll notice something. That song will start to shift your state. You'll feel pulled toward the task instead of away from it. That's habit change. That's momentum. A few important notes. Never play the song outside of these moments. Don't use it for relaxing, working, or scrolling. You're training your brain to associate it with positive effort only. You might not feel excited at first. That's okay. This isn't about feeling motivated. It's about showing up for 5 minutes. That's enough. You will miss days. That's human. Just restart. No shame, no overthinking. One more thing. You said it feels like something's overriding your brain. That's not in your head. That's what a dysregulated reward system feels like. Constant input from games, videos, and devices can dull your sensitivity to real-world rewards, like a clean room or a finished task. So, if you're feeling numb or like nothing real is satisfying, that's not a failure. That's a pattern, one you can slowly retrain. And it all starts with one tiny task, one musical cue, one moment of momentum. You don't need to climb the mountain today. You just need to take the first step.
Question: how do you build genuine confidence?
Let's start with what most people won't say. Confidence isn't a personality trait. It's a byproduct, something you earn by the way you live. And it's not about being loud or looking successful or having it all together. It's about trusting yourself. Confidence actually is self-trust. So, if you're struggling to feel confident, it's not because you're broken. It's because you haven't built enough evidence yet that you can rely on yourself. So here's how you start. First, watch the voice in your head that tells you what other people think. Because often, what we think others think about us is really just what we think about ourselves. Most people are too busy worrying about their own insecurities to judge yours. But if you walk into every room assuming you're not enough, you're going to feel that, whether it's true or not. So instead of obsessing over how you're perceived, get curious. Where are you not giving yourself credit? You said you work. You take care of yourself. You exercise. That's not nothing. That's structure. That's discipline. Remind yourself of that, not just once, over and over until it starts to feel real. Second, figure out what actually matters to you and live by it. That's your value system. And when you know it, you stop letting every situation decide your worth. If you value health, then every time you choose to move your body or eat with intention, you're casting a vote for your future self. If you value honesty, then speaking up, especially when it's hard, isn't just brave. It's identity building. And that identity, that's what confidence is built on. Confidence isn't thinking you're the best. It's knowing who you are and not abandoning that when things get uncomfortable. Third, do hard things. Small ones, every day. Quit something that's dragging you down. Set a boundary and hold it. Get through a tough workout. Say no. Say yes. Speak up when you'd rather stay quiet. Each time you do something difficult and follow through, you're collecting proof. Proof that you can trust yourself. Confidence doesn't come from thinking your way into it. It comes from acting your way into it, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it is. Fourth, take care of your nervous system. If your body's exhausted or overstimulated, it's going to feel hard to show up with confidence because your system is already in survival mode. For some people, That means cutting back on alcohol. For others, it's meditation, therapy, volunteering, or sleep. Whatever helps you regulate your emotions and stay grounded, do more of that. Because when your body feels safe, your mind doesn't have to work as hard to feel strong. Last thing, stop waiting to feel confident before you show up. That feeling comes after the reps, after the actions. You act like someone who trusts themselves first, then the mindset follows. So no, you're not behind. You're just in the building phase. And that takes time. But if you keep showing up for yourself, especially when it's hard, the confidence will come.
Someone says, feeling lost at 20. I want to improve, but don't know where to start.
You're 20. You feel lost, and you don't know where to start. That's not a crisis. That's being 20. This feeling you have, it's not a glitch. It's part of the process. Here's the truth most people won't say out loud. You're not supposed to have it all figured out right now. In fact, the people who look like they do, most of them are guessing too. You're in a stage of life where the world tells you to take a path, commit to it, and start building your future. But it doesn't give you the tools to know what that path should be or who you even are yet. And that gap between expectation and clarity, that's where the confusion lives. So if you're asking, is it normal to feel this way? Yes, completely. But you still want to grow. You still want to improve. So let's talk about where to begin. Not with a master plan, not with a 10-year goal, just with a few pieces that matter right now. 1. Start with self-awareness. Before chasing any dream, before choosing any path, get to know yourself. What pulls you in even when there's no reward? What drains you even when it's supposed to be impressive? Start small, not with answers, with observations. Pay attention to what gives you energy and what quietly takes it away. You don't need to label your passion. Just get familiar with what feels real to you. And journal. I know that sounds like a cliche, but writing helps. Even if it's just 5 minutes a day, write what you're thinking, what you're avoiding, what you wish you were doing. Patterns will start to show up. That's where direction begins. 2. Pick one habit that builds you up. You don't need to transform your life overnight, but you do need to start proving to yourself that you can take care of yourself consistently. Pick one habit. Make it tiny. Not read a book a week. Just read 10 pages a day. Not go to the gym every morning. Just move for 10 minutes. The goal isn't perfection, it's momentum. Every time you follow through on a small habit, you're building trust with yourself. That trust becomes your foundation for everything else. 3. Forget about choosing between ambition and peace. You can build both. This idea that you have to either chase big dreams or settle for a simple life, it's false. You don't have to be a billionaire to live a meaningful life. You also don't have to live in quiet obscurity to find peace. You can build something you care about and go to bed with a calm mind. It's not either slash or. It's how you go about it. Chasing ambition with no values, no boundaries, no self-awareness, that leads to burnout. But chasing it from a place of alignment, from knowing who you are and what matters to you, that leads to fulfillment. So don't focus on how big your dream is. Focus on whether it feels honest, whether it lights something up inside you, not to impress people, but because it actually matters to you. 4. Talk to people who are living different versions of adulthood. Not just influencers, not just billionaires or minimalist YouTubers. Real people. A teacher, a small business owner, a parent, a traveler, a coder, a writer. Ask how they got there. Ask what they regret. Ask what they thought they wanted at 20 and what actually ended up mattering at 30. You'll learn that most people's paths are winding, that it's okay to pivot. That success means different things to different people. That realization alone takes a lot of pressure off. 5. Take action before you're ready. The biggest trap at your age is thinking you need certainty before you move. You don't. Start something, anything, and adjust along the way. Take a class. Volunteer. Get a part-time job in a field you're curious about. Build a small project, even if it feels pointless. Because clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. Action creates feedback. Feedback creates direction. 6. Make space for silence. If your head is loud all the time, videos, scrolling, comparing, it's hard to hear yourself. Take a weekend offline. Go for walks without music. Meditate. Just be still long enough to hear your own thoughts. You don't have to find the answer in that silence, but you will find you. And that's the person you'll be building a life with, so it's a good place to start. And finally, you don't have to rush. Life isn't a race. There's no gold medal for figuring it out first. The most meaningful lives aren't the fastest ones. They're the ones where people stayed curious, stayed honest, kept showing up. So, if you're lost at 20, that's okay. That just means you're awake. Keep going. You're already on your way.
Question from Reddit. What is wrong with my brain? Why can't I force myself to do anything anymore?
You're not showing up for yourself the way you used to, and you're angry at that. You're confused by it. I hear you. So let me offer a different frame. You're not broken. You're tired of performing. Sometimes when you've been running on pressure, survival, or proving yourself energy for too long, your system shuts down. Not as punishment, as protection. You've been productive. You've been disciplined. You've earned praise. You've worked hard. But here's the question you need to ask now. Were you working towards something that's truly yours? Sometimes we chase a goal for so long, we forget to check in with ourselves and ask, why do I still want this? Do I even want it anymore? Or did I just build my whole identity around the chase? If you're feeling disconnected from everything, even the stuff you used to love, that doesn't mean you're lazy. It might mean you're finally too exhausted to keep pretending you're okay with a life that doesn't fit you anymore. This isn't a motivation problem. It's a clarity problem. Motivation comes when what you're doing aligns with who you are. Right now, there's a gap, a misalignment. You say school is what you've wanted your whole life, but whose voice does that come from? A parent? Society? An old version of yourself who thought a degree would finally prove something? That's not a judgment. That's a call to re-examine. Because when your actions don't match your real values, your nervous system resists. Your energy disappears. Your mind goes foggy. Your body stops cooperating. It's not sabotage. It's intelligence. So, what do you do with this? Start here. Stop trying to force discipline. Start listening to what your resistance is telling you. Here's a journaling prompt that's worth spending some real time with. What do I spontaneously want to do when no one is watching? What do I lose track of time doing? What do I read about or talk about even when I'm exhausted? What lights me up, even just a little? Don't look for the perfect answer. Look for energy. Look for the spark, however small. That spark is where your real path begins. Build your life around what pulls you, not just what pushes you. You've been pushed for years. Pushed to survive. Pushed to make something of yourself. Now you need something that pulls you forward, something that wakes you up in the morning with curiosity instead of pressure. And yes, sometimes that pull will look boring on the surface. That's okay. Sometimes peace is the dream. But it needs to be your dream, not a placeholder for someone else's expectation. Last thing, you haven't failed. This moment isn't proof that you're weak. It's proof that you're finally sensitive enough to notice what's not working. That's strength. That's awareness. That's the beginning of something new. So start there. Drop the guilt. Stop calling yourself lazy. Start asking better questions. Because your energy will come back, not when you force it, but when you finally stop chasing a life that isn't yours.
Someone on Reddit asks, why does growing up feel like losing everyone?
Because sometimes it is. And I want to be really honest about this. Growing up does come with a kind of loss. A quiet kind. The kind no one really prepares you for. It's not dramatic. There's no breakup. No fight. No final conversation. It's just a slow drift. One day you look around and realize the people who once knew every little thing about your life don't anymore. It happens in small, unspoken ways. A text you forget to answer. A friend you don't see for a month, then 6. The group chat goes quiet. You move, they move, and suddenly you're not part of each other's everyday world anymore. Just people with shared history and different futures. It feels strange, like losing pieces of yourself, scattered across time. Why it hurts so much? Let's name the core of what you're feeling: disconnection. When we're younger, especially in childhood and early adulthood, our relationships are built into the structure of our lives. You're in the same school, the same classes, eating lunch together, hanging out without needing to schedule anything. You share routines, struggles, boredom. You see people every day without trying, and that gives you something really rare: effortless belonging. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to explain yourself. You're just in it together. But when you grow up, that structure disappears. People scatter. They start families, change jobs, get busy, get tired, move cities, move time zones. Priorities shift, energy shifts, and suddenly, being close takes effort. Friendship becomes something you have to build on purpose, not something you fall into by proximity. And if you're someone who keeps to themselves or doesn't always know how to initiate, making that effort can feel overwhelming, even impossible. It's normal, but it still hurts. People will say, that's just life. And they're not wrong, but that doesn't make it less painful. Loss isn't always loud. Sometimes it's just realizing you haven't spoken to someone you used to talk to every day, or noticing that you're the one always reaching out first and finally stopping, or sitting in your apartment on a Friday night wondering where everyone went. And that ache, that quiet emptiness, it's real. It's grief. Not for someone who died, but for the version of life that's over. The version where you belong to a group, where people just got you, where you didn't have to explain your backstory to feel understood. What's happening beneath the surface? Here's something that's often overlooked. When relationships fall away, it's not always about disinterest or failure. Sometimes it's about life stages, and you might not be in sync anymore. You're 25 and working nights. They're 26 and raising a toddler. You're figuring out who you are. They're trying to hold on to who they used to be. Same age, same memories, completely different lives now. And that mismatch of values, routines, or bandwidth can make closeness hard, even if the love is still there. What can you do about it? You can't stop people from drifting, but you can create space for connection in new ways. Let's start small. 1. Reach out anyway. Yeah, I know. You're tired. You don't want to be the only one putting in effort. But if you miss someone, tell them. If you think of them, send a message. Not a deep, emotional essay. Just, hey, saw this and thought of you. Hope you're good. Sometimes that one message is enough to spark something again. Other times it won't go anywhere, and that's okay too. But you'll know you tried. 2. Join where people want to connect. Work can be hard for friendships. People are there to get things done. But hobby groups, volunteer organizations, fitness classes, creative meetups, those are different. People go there to find connection. That's the point. And it's easier to bond when you're not just sitting across from each other trying to talk, but actually doing something side by side. You don't have to show up as your most interesting self. Just show up. Let connection build slowly. 3. Accept that some friends are seasonal. Not every friend is meant to last forever. Some were perfect for who you were at 15 or 21 or in your first job. But growth means change, and change means some people won't come with you. That doesn't make those friendships any less real. It just means their chapter in your life is complete, and that leaves room for the next one, a different kind of connection. Here's the thing most people don't talk about. As you grow up, connection doesn't get easier, but it can get deeper. You won't have 10 people around all the time anymore, but you can have 1 or 2 who really see you. And when you do, it's not just about having someone to talk to. It's about having someone who knows where you've been and wants to walk with you now, not just remember you then. That kind of connection doesn't come fast, but it's worth waiting for. And if you feel alone now, You're not failing. You're not broken. You're just between circles. And that's one of the loneliest, but most human places to be. Don't numb the ache. Don't rush to replace it. Just stay with it long enough to hear what it's teaching you. Because the part of you that feels this emptiness, that's the part of you that still wants to love and be loved. That still believes in closeness, in shared laughter, in sitting beside someone and feeling like you don't have to try so hard. That part of you hasn't given up. And that's where new connection will begin. So yeah, growing up does feel like losing everyone. But it can also be the start of choosing the people you'll really grow with. Not out of convenience, but out of alignment, out of mutual effort, out of care, out of depth. Keep your heart open. Keep showing up. The next version of belonging might be quieter, but it will be real.
Someone asks, why is life so hard?
Why is life so hard? That's not a complaint. That's a real question. And it might be the most honest question a person can ask. Because the moment you stop pretending that you're okay all the time, the moment you stop pushing away the feeling that something's off, and you just ask, why does this feel so heavy? You're not giving up. You're waking up. The short answer? Life is hard because it's layered. Some of that hardship is built into the system. Some of it is baked into the human condition. And some of it we've created ourselves without meaning to. So let's break that down. 1, life is hard because we are aware. A dog doesn't worry about purpose. A tree doesn't wonder if it's wasted its potential. But we do, every single day. We have language, memory, imagination. We can plan for the future and regret the past. We can feel shame about things that happened years ago and panic about things that haven't even happened yet. That kind of awareness is a gift. But it's a heavy one. We suffer not only from what happens to us, but from what happens in us. The inner noise, the constant questions, the pressure to get it right, the comparison, the guilt, the wondering whether we're enough. So no matter how perfect a society gets, some of that internal weight is just part of being human. 2, life is hard because we've built systems that demand too much and give too little. Now, let's talk about society. You're not wrong to wonder if we've made life harder than it needs to be. Because we have. Modern society was supposed to make life easier. And in some ways, it has. We have medicine, electricity, transportation. We have more knowledge in our phones than entire generations had in libraries, but somehow we're still exhausted, still anxious, still wondering if we're behind. Why? Because every time technology gave us more convenience, we raised the bar. We didn't use machines to work less, we used them to expect more. We didn't use communication tools to feel more connected, we used them to expect instant replies. We didn't use abundance to rest, we used it to consume endlessly. And now we're stuck in a loop. Work more to afford more, to own more, to need more, to work more again. That's not progress. That's a treadmill. And we don't even realize we're on it until we're too tired to keep up. 3, life is hard because we don't know what's enough. We keep chasing goals, career milestones, money, recognition, not because they satisfy us, but because we're scared to stop. We think the next achievement will finally make us feel okay. But when we get there, we move the goalpost. We're not taught how to feel content. We're taught how to compete, to measure, to optimize, to hustle, but no one ever taught us how to be. And so even when we have enough, we don't feel enough. That disconnection, that inability to feel okay even in safety, is what drives so much of the suffering in modern life. 4, life is hard because we forget the miracle of being alive. Let's pull back for a second. You're alive. Right now, your heart is beating and you're not making it beat. You're breathing and you're not thinking about how. You can feel the warmth of sunlight, the texture of a bedsheet, the way music hits your chest like it knows you. You can dream. You can laugh so hard it hurts. You can fall in love. You can make someone feel seen with just a few words. That's not normal. That's a miracle. But we forget. We forget because we're distracted, because we're busy, because we're told every day that we need more to be happy. But what if happiness isn't a thing to get, but a way to see? What if doing enough was never the point? What if the point was simply to be here, to experience the world through these strange, beautiful senses, and to know what it is to care, to hope, to wonder? 5. So, what do we do with all of this? You asked whether life is hard because of us or in spite of us. The truth is, it's both. We are the ones who built the complexity, but we're also the ones who can unlearn it. Not all at once, not by tearing down the world, but by slowly choosing a different rhythm. We can say no to endless productivity. We can say yes to slow mornings, to honest conversations, to being fully present for 10 seconds longer than we were yesterday. We can resist the belief that our worth is tied to output. We can opt out of the race. We can reconnect with nature, with our bodies, with each other, not because we're trying to escape, but because we're trying to return to what matters, to what's real, to what's enough. Final thought: life is hard, and that's not your fault, but it's not hopeless either, because if life is partly hard because of us, then that means we have the power to change some of it. Not all of it, but enough to find peace in the chaos, enough to feel joy in small moments, enough to build something softer for ourselves and for each other. So no, you're not overthinking. You're waking up, and that's the beginning of something better.
Someone asks, how can I cope with the incessant thought that jobs command so much of my life's time?
Let's not sugarcoat it. You're asking something most people feel but rarely say out loud. Why does so much of my life revolve around a job I didn't choose out of love, but out of necessity? And how do I live with that? This is not just a scheduling issue. It's an existential one. You're not wrong to feel this tension. The sense that your time, the most finite thing you have, is being carved up and sold off hour by hour. That you are adapting your life, your energy, your rhythms, your sleep, to fit inside a container that often feels too small, too draining, too impersonal. This isn't self-pity, it's awareness. And that's a powerful place to begin. The modern dilemma, a life shaped around the job. For most of human history, we didn't live this way. We worked with nature's rhythms, not against them. Our days were tied to daylight, to harvests, to craftsmanship, to community. We didn't define people by their job titles. We didn't ask strangers, "What do you do?" as the first measure of their value. That's relatively new. So, if this way of living feels unnatural, it's because, in many ways, it is. And yet, here we are, bills to pay, rent to cover, healthcare, groceries, responsibilities. So the question becomes, how do I carry this awareness without letting it crush me? 1. Accepting doesn't mean agreeing. Let's be clear. Accepting your current situation doesn't mean you agree with it. It just means you stop wasting energy fighting the fact that it exists. A job might take your time, but resentment takes your peace. That doesn't mean you stop dreaming of something different, but it does mean choosing to show up differently in the meantime. One Stoic principle that applies here: focus only on what you can control. You may not be able to control how many hours the job takes, but you can control how you structure the hours around it. You can control your mindset while you're in it. You can control how you recover from it. And that shift from resistance to presence is the beginning of peace. 2. Redefine what life means to you. Here's the trap. We think the job is stealing our life. But your job is not your life. Your life is every moment around it. The 10 minutes in the morning when you drink your coffee slowly. The walk home where you feel the wind on your face. The book you read at night. The laugh you share with someone you love. Those aren't leftovers. They are your life. Even if your job takes 8, 9, 10 hours, what you do with the rest, how you see the rest, that's where your freedom lives. Because while you might not control how much time the job takes, you can control how sacred the in-between becomes. 3. Make space for tiny acts of rebellion. No, not burning it all down. Not quitting and disappearing to a cabin in the woods. I mean quiet, personal rebellion. Things that say, this time is mine. Waking up just 15 minutes earlier to move your body, or journal, or sit in silence before the world asks anything of you. Listening to a song you love on your commute, not because it's productive, but because it reminds you that you're alive. Saying no to overtime when you can. Not every time, but sometimes. Lighting a candle while you cook. Making lunch look good on a plate. Laughing at a meme. Reading poetry on your break. Small, defiant acts of reclaiming your own humanity. Not because they change the system, but because they remind you, I exist outside of this. 4. Let work become your practice ground, not your prison. This is where Stoic philosophy offers something powerful. Instead of seeing your job as an obstacle to your life, what if you saw it as your arena? The place you practice patience, the place you build character, the place you get to respond with integrity even when it's hard. Marcus Aurelius wrote, at dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being, not because the job is noble, but because you are. Every annoying meeting, every tired afternoon, every difficult coworker, it becomes the training ground. Not for perfection, but for self-mastery. The Stoics didn't believe in waiting for the perfect conditions. They believed in becoming the kind of person who can face any condition with virtue. And your job, however flawed, can be part of that path. 5. Stop asking if your job is meaningful. Start asking if you are being meaningful. So many of us feel lost because we tie our worth to our work. We ask, is this job meaningful? But that's not always the right question. The better one might be, am I showing up with meaning wherever I am? Can I bring honesty into a place where people lie? Can I bring kindness into a place where people compete? Can I bring presence into a place where people zone out? If the answer is yes, even sometimes, then you are not just surviving. You are shaping the world in small, real ways. And that's meaningful. 6. Make a plan, but live today. You said you have future plans that might give you more freedom. That's great. Keep building toward that. Keep saving. Keep learning. Keep creating options. But don't put your entire life on hold until you get there. It's easy to say, once I leave this job, then I'll really live. But life isn't later. Life is now. Even in a job you don't love. Even in fatigue. Even in resistance. You don't need to wait until you escape to start living differently. You just need to start paying attention right now to the parts that are already yours. Final thought. You're not crazy for feeling this way. You're not entitled. You're awake. And yes, there is something deeply flawed about a system that demands so much from us and gives so little room to just be human. But while we wait for the world to shift, your interior world is still yours to shape. So take a breath. Start small. Don't look for peace in the big answers. Find it in how you drink your tea, in how you take a walk, in how you remember that you are more than what you do from 9 to 5. Your job is part of your life, but it doesn't get to define your life. That's still up to you.